Hello, this is Lab 5, Shear and Beams, presented by Group 5. The purpose of this lab was to illustrate the effect of shear on horizontal planes. When choosing what material should be used for testing, the group chose to use two 10 by 2 inch plywood boards, and Gorilla Glue was applied to bond both boards together. Each metal plate weighed 1.1 pounds, so one weighted plate was placed onto the hook at a time for each of the 3 tests. 3 tests were performed on the plywood board. On each test, a metal plate is added on the weight hook that is seen hanging from the center of the material. This will allow the group to compare the various measured deflections on the specimen depending on the number of plates used for each test. The group used a dial indicator on the center of the board to precisely measure that deflection. The equations we used were I equals TH to the third power over 12. For the I, we did end up getting 0.005 inches to the fourth power. We found that the elastic modulus for the plywood was 1,190 KSI, so we plugged that into our equation for the Y max, which was negative PL to the third power over 48 times EI. So as you can see here for test 1 that held 1.1 pounds, the dial shows that the deflection was negative 0.003 inches. The group's theoretical calculation for that deflection using that 1.1 pounds were actually negative 0.029 inches. This resulted in an error percentage of 3.44. This was very close. Our theoretical and actual value were very similar. For test 2, there was a slight difference where we used 2 weighted plates instead of 1, making it a total load of 2.2 pounds. The dial showed that the deflection was negative 0.06 inches. The group's theoretical calculation for that deflection, using those 2.2 pounds, was negative 0.0058. This resulted in a very similar percent error as the first test of 3.44. For test 3, 3 weighted plates were loaded onto the board, this time bearing a total weight of 3.3 pounds. The dial showed that the deflection was negative 0.007 inches. The group calculated that for the deflection of adding those 3.3 pounds was going to be negative 0.0087 inches. This resulted in a larger percent error of 19.44, which was obviously larger than the last 2 tests. For the most part, Group 5 was pleased to see the results mostly match up with our calculations. Group 5 collectively thinks that test 3 was skewed due to the dial indicator either not being zeroed correctly or the test specimen moving slightly before the test was actually taken. For the next time that we perform a lab, Group 5 will make sure to check everything thoroughly before running a final test.